Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. Mitchell Renz here from Chat Sports, and today's show is presented by Rhone. If you like the shirt that I'm rocking today, guess what? You can rock it as well. 20% off your entire order when you go to Rhone.com/chatsports, and promo code, also need you to remember this, is Chat Sports. Those links are going to be available for you guys down in the comments and in the description of today's show. So what's coming up here on the Raiders Report? We got some training camp news. Jimmy Garoppolo, he was straight cooking today. What's the latest around the Raiders tight end Michael Mayer? Injury? I don't necessarily know. Linebacker free agent targets, because let's face it, man, we need to sign one. And then new Josh Jacobs rumors that are going to really make you question what the hell is going on here in Las Vegas. Now, before we get into some of these training camp updates, I do want to put out a friendly reminder that Raiders joint practice, not that kind, I know a lot of y'all out in the Bay, joint practice against the 49ers is August 10th and 11th, which anytime you get an opportunity to go up against some other people and you don't got to beat up against your own teammates, I do think that's a very good thing. So something no doubt I am looking forward to. On top of that, if the Raiders and Niners are going to be battling on the field, I've been saying it all week, we're battling the 49ers Report here on YouTube. We started this battle on Monday, and right now we are 2 down from the Niners Report. I can't let that happen. If you don't like the Niners, then hit that subscribe button. If you like the Raiders more than you hate the Niners, hit that subscribe button. It is a team effort here on the Raiders Report. We're also going to be live on Sunday when the Raiders take down the Niners, so make sure you don't miss it. Now, speaking of missing it, we'll talk about some players that unfortunately today did not practice. Josh Jacobs still has yet to sign his franchise tag, but then other players who did not participate: Chris Lacy, Michael Mayer, Jesper Horsted. So there's your offensive side of the football. On the defensive side of the football, it's Darius Harris. So definitely a name to monitor since the Raiders just signed him. David Long Jr., Brandon Facyson, he's still battling at an injury. We don't have a complete update on when he's going to be back. And then also Ike Brown, who the Raiders signed last week after releasing him, I think, the week before that. Some good news here, though, around the Raiders' interior defensive line. Second year from LSU, Neil Farrell Jr., activated off the NFI list. I mean, this is really good because earlier in the offseason, I had a Raiders player tell me that it looked like Neil Farrell, the light bulb went on. He's been losing a little bit of time here to Nesta Jade Silvera because he's been impressing, but the good news here is this: he's out there on the field and they practiced today. But let's talk about Michael Mayer because he missed Wednesday's practice, and the injury is, I'm just going to put unknown, because the Raiders are just so good, and it drives me nuts at the same time that they never put out any updates around their players when they miss practice. So the Raiders, they had Monday and Tuesday off. The reason why that's important is because Mayer, this is his second straight practice that he's missed. So he missed Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday, and Sunday. So whatever the hell is going on, that forced him to miss 4 days of practice. The other thing why I'm a little bit concerned about it is because of just the amount of tight ends that the Raiders worked out this week. I don't know if we're going to see Mayer out there on the field this upcoming game against the 49ers. And my last note is a kid, but it's only kind of a kidding. Did Maxx Crosby hurt him? Because the last time I heard about Mayer being out there on the field was Crosby was putting him through the works. And he was knocking him down. Now, don't get me wrong. I like the fact that Mayer kept getting back up, shows that great mental toughness. But man, oh man, oh man. It's hard to see your great tight end get knocked down like that. Coming up next here on the Raiders Report, we got some training camp news to get into, and we'll talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, and then we'll get into some other things that ended up going down today around Raiders practice. But I hit it at the very top of this show. Garoppolo was out there cooking, and I think it's kind of funny because a lot of the beat reporters, and we'll just say social media in general, when Jimmy G has a bad practice, it's an absolute mental breakdown. Garoppolo has a hell of a practice today, and it's nothing but crickets out there. So give the man some credit. He was great in the red zone. He was great on 7-on-7s. He was great on 11-on-11s. It sounds like Garoppolo is really starting to pick this thing up. But the reason why he's here is to get that red zone clicking, because that's what this team desperately, desperately needs. Now, we know Jimmy Garoppolo, man, that guy always looks good. But if you're like me, or if you're, your average Joe Schmo, Rhone's also going to help you take your closet from here to this level here. How do you do it? You got to go to Rhone.com/chatsports, and a huge shout out to them for being an awesome sponsor with the Raiders Report. So Raider Nation, are you listening right now? Hopefully you are, because I want you to upgrade your closet with Rhone and use promo code ChatSports to save 20% at Rhone.com/chatsports. Men's closets were due for a radical reinvention, and Rhone stepped up to the challenge. Rhone's commuter collection is the most comfortable, breathable, and flexible set of products known to man. It's time to feel confident without the hassle. With Rhone's wrinkle release technology, wrinkles disappear as you stretch and wear the product. Guess what? It is that easy. The commuter collection can get you through any workday and straighten whatever comes next. Head to Rhone.com/chatsports and use promo code ChatSports to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to RHONE.com/chatsports and use code ChatSports. It's time to find your corner office of comfort. Anytime I get a product here on this show, especially on a product that I'm wearing, if you're a big-time golfer, this is the top golf shirt I would ever recommend. If you want to go grab some drinks with the boys, maybe you got date night with the fiance afterwards, or whatever you got going on. If you need a work shirt and you need a shirt that you can wear after, guess what? Rhone is here to hook you up. Coming up next here on the show, let's talk about some linebackers that the Raiders should sign, because I was on social media today and I saw a tweet. And I was like, man, I could not agree anymore with that. Some of y'all know him as Raider Scout on IG. Tristan, though, also on Twitter. One of the best in the biz for being a Raiders insider. And he said, I honestly don't see the Raiders going into the year without adding one more linebacker. If you agree with Tristan here, man, click that like button, because I'm telling you, when I surf the internet and I see certain things, you just see it and you're like, can I like this twice? Can I like this twice? Because I could not agree more. Now, I'm not Dave Ziegler. You're probably not Dave Ziegler. And if you are Dave Ziegler, you need to sign a freaking linebacker. But you can be the GM right here, because this is what the Raiders Report is all about. It's about that interaction. So take a second, go look down in the comment section, and give me a Y for yes or an N for no. And if you want to be an overachiever, before I give you some of my names, give me a linebacker that you think that this organization should sign. So do the Raiders need to add another linebacker? Yes or no? My answer, I think I've already said it. It is a no-brainer that this team needs to add a linebacker, because when you look at the overall depth chart, and the Raiders actually did just release a unofficial depth chart right before the 49ers game, and I'll talk about it a little bit more tomorrow live on the Raiders Report at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. But when you look at this team, Diablo is going to be wearing the green dot. I just don't have a lot of confidence in overall in this group. Could there be some upside? Yes. I like Amari Burney. He's athletic. Harris, though, is battling an injury. Robert Spillane can't cover. Divine Diablo's got all the athletic traits in the world, but can't seem to ever be able to put it together. Luke Masterson, fun UDFA last season. But sometimes when you're an organization, you got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and go, am I really that good? It's kind of like when I would step up here on this show, right? Like if I looked at myself in the mirror right now, I'd be like, all right, I look pretty good. That's probably because of Rhone. Now, if I looked in the mirror and I was wearing some old kind of just, I don't know, crappy t-shirt, if you will, I would hope that y'all would be like, Mitch, you look like shit today. And that's what sometimes you need. This is my message to Dave Ziegler and saying your linebacker room kind of looks like shit right now. So to me, there are 4 linebackers that if I was Las Vegas, I'm picking up the phone and I'm saying, hey, how you doing? Are you doing anything this weekend? Are you doing anything next week? You want to come to Las Vegas? The first name that I'm going to bring up is a name that I have brought up, I'm going to say 100 times on this show. It's Rashaan Evans, and this team needs another linebacker that can have some productivity. Is he really all that great in the passing game? No, not necessarily. However, though, if you're only going to roll 2 linebackers out there at a time, which Patrick Graham could potentially do, I like the addition of Rashaan Evans, who has worked with Mike Vrabel and has those connections with some of these Raiders coaches. Speaking of connections, I think the top guy that has all the connections with this coaching staff is Kyle Van Noy. He has played with multiple Raiders coaches. He knows Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler very well. And even though he's not really much of an inside linebacker, which probably what the Raiders also need on top of that. He offers you the ability to be an edge rusher, to drop back into coverage, and he uses that key word. I like to call him Kyle Versatility Noy. Let's go to another player. It's Anthony Barr, because he had a visit with the New Orleans Saints, but I don't know if something's going on in New Orleans because Kareem Hunt apparently was supposed to go there. Well, now he's in Indy. Anthony Barr, according to a report, had signed there. He's not going to end up signing, at least not at this current moment. But Barr is a name where if he would be able to come to this Raiders team, he would offer a lot more competition. And then the name that I brought up yesterday on the show was Jaylon Smith. He was in for a visit on August 2nd, has previously worked with Patrick Graham in years past, and even though he's not much of a sideline-to-sideline linebacker, he's got the knee issues, really not much of a coverage guy, he's just a run stopper, but he knows the Patrick Graham defense, which he played in back in 2021 on the New York Giants, as stated on that graphic up there, 38 tackles, 10 games played. So we just talked about 4 linebackers that I believe right now, I'm not saying that all of them would make the 53, because I don't know if all of them would make the 53. I believe that they would, but, you never know exactly how certain things go. Here's my question. I want you to pick one linebacker that you think that this team should sign. If we were sitting up here 2-3 minutes ago screaming, or maybe I was the one screaming, just saying, hey, this team needs to sign a linebacker. Well, which one would you do? Well, that sounds weird. Which one would you sign? Rashaan Evans, Kyle Van Noy, Anthony Barr, or Jaylon Smith? For me personally, I have them ranked here for you for my linebacker priority list. I would put Kyle Van Noy at number 1 because of the versatility, because I believe in today's NFL, if you don't have somebody that can cover tight ends at least a little bit, you're going to struggle. Rashaan Evans comes in at number 2, but really I'd put Evans and Jaylon Smith. They're a lot closer. And then there is a tier break for Anthony Barr, because to me, he really fell off last season, and he doesn't have the connections like some of those other players do. Coming up here, more injury news that could potentially impact Week 1. So the good news is it has nothing to do around the Raiders. The bad news is I never like to see anybody get injured, even when it's up against a division rival like the Denver Broncos, who, man, have had a lot of injuries. So the latest around Denver is Mike McGlinchey, their starting right tackle. He suffered a knee sprain on August 8th, so yesterday. Denver this offseason gave him a 5-year, $87 million contract, and if McGlinchey, for whatever reason, is unable to go Week 1 against the Raiders, because right now he's going to be out a few weeks is what it's being reported. I've seen 4 to 6 weeks, and if it is in that timetable, then they might not have McGlinchey Week 1. And considering the fact that they just gave him that big-time deal, I don't know if you're going to really try to rush him back. The other good news is this. Cam Fleming would be the replacement. And last season, when Cam Fleming went up against Maxx Crosby, Crosby had 3 sacks in one game. I mean, Crosby feasted on Cam Fleming. Now, before I go, tomorrow is a big, big day on the Raiders Report. And some of you are like, well, Mitch, tell me why. I'm glad, because I'm going to tell you why right now. We've been doing this Madden simulation season for the entire year, and shout out to Chug, shout out to Seeps, Rolly, Trace, everybody who has helped get this thing going. But the reason why tomorrow's a big day is because if the Raiders win, their chances of making the playoffs are pretty high. If they lose, they're done. So no chance. My only request is that you join tomorrow's live show. We're going to do a Raiders and Broncos watch party. We're going to get crazy. We're going to have a good time. However, though, the reason why it's not a guaranteed win and you in situation, it's because of the Chargers. It's because of the Chiefs. If the Chargers end up beating Kansas City, that's where this could get interesting. If the Miami Dolphins end up beating the Buffalo Bills, that's where also it can get interesting. I've had to run so many tiebreakers over the past 24 hours, it's really hard to see, but the only spot that the Raiders can get in is at that number 7 seed. Raiders need to win, Chargers need to lose, and also the Miami Dolphins need to lose. Now, I got one more thing that I'm going to hit here at the very end of the show, and it is very, very important for you to take this information with a grain of salt. And if it wasn't around Josh Jacobs, I wouldn't even bring it up. Anytime you get sources that reach out to you, you always want to make sure that you can say, all right, that's a good source. This source that gave me some information made me promise him that I wouldn't tell you exactly what's going to happen, which some of you are probably like, well, Mitch, that's kind of lame. And I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I got to make a promise to this guy. Essentially, he told me something that if it ends up going down tomorrow, Raider fans are going to have a mental breakdown around Josh Jacobs. I don't know if it's true. I can't confirm it. I don't have it. But this is a source that has given me good information before, told me something that is so hard for me to believe that that's why I'm saying it, take it with a grain of salt. So if something big goes down tomorrow, we're going to be live. We're going to talk about it, and I don't want you to miss it. So make sure you got those notifications turned on because we're going to be making the playoffs, hopefully, and hopefully we don't have to talk about whatever the hell this is because I'm telling y'all right now, it's no bueno. Appreciate everyone tuning in to today's show and appreciate Rhone for sponsoring the Raiders Report.